Hey guys, this is our next set of notes for Unit 3. This is on isotopes. Just a little review. Remember that the mass on the periodic table isn't the mass of just the element, it's the average mass of the most common isotopes. So our periodic table, all of those are the most common isotopes for that element. What is an isotope again? It's been a few days since we talked about this. So remember that an isotope is the same element, but it has a different number of neutrons, which are found in the nucleus. So in this picture, I have carbon, carbon-13, and carbon-14. They all have different mass numbers, which would be that 13 and 14. And they have a different number of neutrons in the nucleus. They do have the same number of protons and the same number of electrons. Also remember the atomic number is equal to your protons and your electrons, and your mass number, atomic mass is a decimal number on the periodic table. Don't forget about ape man, we'll be using that a lot today. Mass equals protons plus neutrons. It will never ever be a decimal. Also, you can rearrange that to say neutrons equal mass number minus protons, and then atomic mass is protons plus neutrons. Remember, also the atomic mass is coming from your periodic table. So when we see isotopes, it's written in hyphen notation, which again is the element name or the symbol, and then the mass number. So it can be written with the name or the symbol. Here I have uranium-235 and U-235. Both of those are the same thing. That 235 tells us the mass number. We can also write the isotopic symbol, which is sometimes called the nuclear symbol. This is where I have the actual symbol of the element, so U, and then on the top I have the mass number, on the bottom I have the atomic number. So let's do some examples. I have P31. Right away I can look at my periodic table and find the atomic number. So for phosphorus it's 15. That tells me protons, and it also tells me electrons. So it's written in hyphen notation, which means that 31 is my mass number. To find neutrons, I can say mass number minus atomic number, so 31 minus 15, and that gives you 16. Finally, I need to write it out in isotopic symbol or isotopic notation. So it would look like this with the mass number on top and the atomic number on the bottom. Next I have Se79, so that's element number 34 on my periodic table. My mass number would just be 79. I can fill in my protons and electrons. And then 79 minus 34 gives me 45. My symbol would look like this. Next, we're talking about ions. An ion is a charged atom, so it's positive or it's negative, but it will not be neutral. In an ion, protons will not equal the number of electrons, so electrons are the thing that's going to be changing. If the atom loses electrons, it has a positive charge. It's a positive ion. We call those a cation. To remember this, you can say cats have paws. Paws sounds like positive. So I'm losing bits of negative pieces of the atom. That's what's making it positive. The opposite of that is gaining electrons. That would form a negative ion, and it's called an anion. You can think of, it's kind of spelled like onion. Onions usually make people cry, so that's a negative thing that happens. So if it's gaining electrons, it's gaining more pieces of negative particles. That's going to make it overall negative. My cation. Okay, so let's do an example. Sodium, and I may need to flip back to my notes just a second. So, sodium is Na, and its charge is +1. So right now you don't have to worry about how to find those charges because you'll learn that later on. But if it's a positive charge, that means I lost an electron. Okay, the next thing it's asking for the number of protons. So normally sodium has, let's see, is that 11 protons? Now, that would be the number of electrons, but I lost one, so I'm going to say 10 electrons. What else do I need? The ion would just be in a positive, and since it's positive, it's a cation. Okay. So you can fill those in on your paper. Then we have chlorine, so we'll do the same thing. Let's use blue. So chlorine is Cl minus 1, that's the charge. If I am negative, that means I gained an electron. So chlorine has, let's see, it's really far away. I think it says 17 electrons. Oh, sorry, protons. If I gained an electron, I now have 18 electrons. My ion is just Cl negative, and that would be an anion because it's negative. We also have polyatomic ions. This is an ion that has 2 or more different elements that are permanently stuck together. We write these using parentheses most of the time. They have 2 or more non-metals that are combined together. So remember that poly means many and atomic means atoms. Lastly, these are the things that you need to remember. These could be on a test later on. If we change the number of protons, that's a completely different element. If we change number of neutrons, it's an isotope. And if we change electrons, it's an ion that has a charge. So that's it for